Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. We are still in transition here from fall fishing to ice fishing. So we're still not on the ice yet, and I'm not sure when we'll be able to get on the ice, but I'm going to go over my flipping and pitching setup with you guys. I use something that that I trust, something that I use anytime I'm going to go out there. This is what I throw when I'm going to flip or pitch. I'm mostly pitching. I don't do much with flipping. Flipping is more of a technique where you got your line stretched out and you're just kind of setting it in there. You're not even you're not flipping. You're pushing the button on your reel or nothing like that. You're just pulling the line back and then setting it down there. It's nice. It's real super quiet. What I do usually is I'm pitching, so I'm holding on to the bait. And I've got my thumb down on the button, on the spool, and pitching. And pitch it, let it go, let the thumb, hold it just as it's about to touch the water, and so it'll drop in quietly. If whatever I'm punching through is a little bit thicker, I'll throw up a little bit higher, so it'll come down a little bit with more force, and punch through whatever it is that I'm going through. But typically I don't really have to do that up here in the north, not that much anyways. If I were to go down to Florida, yeah, then that area or similar areas. My weights, I'm only flipping or pitching with the half ounce or 3/4 ounce tungsten flipping and pitching weights. That's really all I really use. Like I said, up here in the north, we don't have a lot of stuff that's really that thick, so we don't really require it. I have up to a 1 ounce, and if I do happen to make a trip down to Florida or similar areas where the mats are much thicker and you need more weight to get through, then I'll go pick up this year probably about 1.25 ounces, 1.5 ounces, and go that way. I've never thrown a 2 ounce punching weight, and I'm not sure if I ever will, but I can't say never because I just haven't been in the situation yet. So we'll see if I ever do, but for right now, pretty much half, 3/4, or 1 ounce. I rarely ever throw the 1 ounce. It's mostly 3/4, and if I'm really trying to keep it light and natural and slow to fall, half ounce. But that's really all I throw them on. And as far as hook wise, before I get in too much deeper into this, I want to explain to you guys, this is just stuff that works for me. I don't by far, I don't at all feel like I'm an expert. This is just what I've used myself. I've gone through a couple different methods. Some have worked, some have not. But I found the one for me that works the best. And it's not what you guys are probably going to think. If you know flipping and pitching, it's probably not the way you're thinking. So just a heads up, take this with a grain of salt. This is just what works for me, and I've got a lot of success with it. With that said, the first thing I'm going to show you guys is the typical setup, hook and weight setup. So you got your flipping hook. So this is your flipping hook right here. Okay. Easier to see. There we go. And your knot here is a snell knot. And then you've got your weight. So this happens to be a 3/4 ounce weight. All right. Now, when you set the hook, usually I don't have a bobber stop here, but or a rubber stop. But usually you'll have a stop in front of the weight here, top of the weight. And what's going to happen is when you set the hook, typically the mouth of the fish is closed around the weight like this. Okay. And when you set the hook, it puts pressure on the weight on the hook, and it tilts it like that. Now, the reason for that is so the hook point gets up into the roof of the fish's mouth, or in their corner of the lip or top of the lip. So this is how I started. All right, this is how the typical way to well, they say the normal way to flip and pitch and punch is like this. So that way it does that. I did that for a couple weeks. I was not having any much success. I think I lost a lot of fish, and it was not working for me. So I took a little bit time and did some research and watched some videos on this technique. What I came up with was I watched a video. It was one of Seth Feider's videos, an older one. I don't believe he does this anymore. Don't quote me on it, but I think he's got a different technique now. I think he's back to a flipping hook. But what he did is he used an EWG, heavy gauge EWG. All right, and he said at that time he started landing more fish. The hookup ratio got to be much better. So I've made mock-ups of these here to show you guys. So I'm gonna put this weight on here. Now, one thing you're gonna notice right off the bat is with this setup, if I put pressure on this weight like this, it doesn't curl anywhere. It doesn't do anything. It doesn't curl. But if you think about it, like a regular Texas rig, you're throwing an EWG with a regular Texas rig, right? And with tungsten weights being so small as they are, it's not going to pop that fish's mouth open. It will a little bit, right? But it's not going to really bang it wide open. So I tried this method here, and this is like I said, I watched one of Seth Feider's videos, and this is what I started. I landed a lot more fish this way. It went pretty much from 0 to hero, honestly, and I was sold. Now I'm going to jump into it and go a little bit further, and I switched it up to a hook that's in between a worm hook and an EWG hook. And this one happens to be by Guggen Squad, and I believe VMC makes one too, a really good one. But all it is, it's like a heavy gauge worm hook, but it has a bit wider gap to it. And what I'm throwing on is just beaver style bait, so they're not real thick. And you don't need, a big amount of space here. You don't need the extra wide gap. So this works really good for me. I went to this, and the only time I'm going to lose fish is my own error. And it happens. And when I'm tying this hook, so where'd it go? Oh, here it is. So with the with your standard flip and pitch and hook, you've got that Snell knot, and that Snell knot, depending on what it is, it can take some time, right? And I'm gonna be honest with you, I had to look it up just to tie it, because I hadn't tied a Snell knot in years. I just don't have a need for it, really. My knots are either the uni to uni, or which would be a double uni, I guess, whatever. It'd be just a tie on leader line, which I don't use that much anymore, because then now I use the, I call it, double modified FG knot, which maybe I'll go into this in another video, but I've combined methods from Seth Feider and methods from Jacob Wheeler, because they both got some really good useful methods, and I combine them all together. And that works great for me. So it's either a uni knot, a uni to uni knot, or the FG. But my favorite knot is the Palomar knot. And that's what I'm going to show you right now. Probably don't have to show you the Palomar knot. I'm sure a lot of you guys know it, but just go in the eye. You can just pinch the line and go, you know, put it through too, but then go back through the eye. Like that, so you got a loop. And then just tie, you know, your simple knot. Go through here. Now with that, you'll put the hook through this part here. And bring it up and around like that. And then just cinch it down. Just like that. Okay. Not hard to see. And if this sucks, I'm sorry. There are a lot of videos out there on how to tie knots. I won't go that deep into it. But after I do that, and the Palomar knot is a really easy knot. I use this for braid. I'll use it for fluoro, mono, everything. I don't have any issues with it, so I'm not going to change my methods. And it works for me. But next what I'll do, and you don't have to do this next part, but for me, I just do it to kind of help. So when you tie the knot, you've got this line sticking out this way, you know, and you're dragging this way so it kind of, you know, can kind of catch. This is mostly for fluorocarbon that I'll do it, but I'll do it for braid too. I'll just tie an overhand knot, just a single overhand knot, but make sure that it comes down this way like this, okay? And I'll just do it like that. I won't go super tight, but just enough. Now I've changed direction of that tag line. See that? And you just snip it off. So this one is the same way. Scissors are dull. Okay, so this one is the same way with the weight as the EWG. It's not going to go anywhere. Hook my leg, drop the weight. Terrible instruction video. Instructing you how to hook yourself. Don't do that. Here we go. So there it is there. This is my favorite setup for pitching, punching, whatever. Even Texas rigs. Texas rigs, I have the same hook on. Even when I'm throwing just a 5-inch stick bait, I'm throwing this hammer hook, and this works really good for me all around. And this is a 4/0 hook. This is the size I'll typically throw, and it fits perfectly. Now I'll show you that setup already on the rod. So here's that setup. Okay. This happens to be a beaver style bait by Guggen Squad. It's the Bandito bug. Probably my favorite flipping, pitching, punching baits so far. They make one called the Nuke Punch. This is supposed to be specifically designed for punching, but I have better luck with the Bandito bug, the beaver style bait, and I will probably choose that over anything else. This gets a lot of bites from me, and you can see that hook. Plenty of space right here. You know, when it gets pushed down, plenty of space. See that? Turn that hook there better for you guys. There it is. So plenty of gap. You don't need an extra wide gap hook on there. And there I got the bobber stop. This happens to be a 3/4 ounce tungsten weight. I've been using heavy metal tungsten. It's just a cheaper price point. It's the same stuff as, like, say, BMC. BMC is typically my go-to, but this has been pretty good, and it's not as expensive either. Tungsten can get really expensive, especially when you get pike trying to bite you off, and do bite you off. The line I'm throwing on, it's I've been changing it up. I originally started with 65-pound test braid line, and I Up here in the north, you don't need 65 pound fish braided line. I throw 50. I will even sometimes throw 40 pound braided line. I haven't had any issues with it breaking off, ever, really. Now that's up here. In Florida, different case. Like I said, Florida, you're gonna need heavier weight. You got a lot more cover, and you're gonna be really ripping them out of there. But even when you've got that much, you know, that much cover, I mean, if they start wrapping around, you really gotta start pulling to get them out of that cover. There's a good chance you're gonna lose that fish just from pulling on it like that, through all that heavy cover and everything. So it gets really tough to land those fish, but you can do it. And down in Florida, that's where I'm gonna up my weight, and you know, that's where I might throw my 65 pound braided line. Some guys will throw 80 pound. I won't do that. You don't need it down in Florida for that, from what I've seen. And I feel like, even though I haven't been there, I feel like you wouldn't need it either. As a matter of fact, down in Florida, if I do go down to Florida, when, I will still throw 50 pound braided line until it fails me, okay? 50 pound braided line hasn't failed me yet. And now this line, I usually use the Suffix 832 braid, and it's usually the green line. This line is the Bass Pro Shops. I don't even know if I have the box here. Oh yeah. The XPS Signature Series SS braid. And the reason why I tried this over the Suffix at 832 braid is because this braid is already colored black. What I used to do with all my braid, flipping, pitching, frogging, not so much frogging, but flipping, pitching, and then my jig setups, is I would take my braided line and I would color the first 4 feet of it. So when it goes in the water, you know, if they see black, they just think there's like, you know, weeds or something. Or sometimes they won't even see it. Sometimes it's hard for me to see it. I don't know if it really works. It's a confidence thing for me. But whenever you would color your line with the permanent marker, it would fade out, right? So you'd have to keep coloring it. I probably have to color it maybe a couple times during the day. This line, it's already black. It's black braided line. And I wouldn't have to color this line ever. Well, I shouldn't say ever. It seems like so far, this is the first year I've used it, that I don't have to color it. Well, it actually looks pretty good here, but whoops. I'll show you on my jig rod actually. Here's my jig rod. My jig rod will actually show you a little bit better. Okay, so there it is, showing a little bit of fading due to the sun. And I thought, oh shoot, you know, I'm gonna have to. That's not good. I'm gonna have to start coloring this. I'm gonna have to go. Well, the cool thing is, once it gets wet, it's black. So it still works. Now I'm not sure how long it's gonna last. I'm gonna test it out this next year and see how long that'll last. But like, what I mean by last, I mean like being that faded, and then still being able, you know, to be black when it's wet, or how long it's going to take before it's faded too far, where no matter what, if it's wet, it's still going to be faded in the water. So we'll try that out. But for right now, this line's been working pretty good. Hasn't broke on me yet. I've really ripped into a couple of really good ones, and really solid. So I've got no complaints with that braid. And the rod throwing it on is a 7.6 heavy action rod. This is a rod that I built and designed and built, sorry. And it's been a really good rod for me. It's I use a MHX blank, and I had a different reel on here because I had different line, and this is just a reel that I threw on just to test this line. And it's worked really good. So I might switch them back and put that other line on that reel, but this rod's been really good. No issues. It's a fast action rod, so most of the bend's gonna happen at the tip. And you know, some guys, they'll go with maybe like a 7-11 for a flipping pitching, just for more leverage, and it works. And it's great for that. But this one works good for me. I haven't tried a 7-11. I'm sure it would really work, but if 7.6 is going to work for me, I'm going to stick with it. You know, test out a couple lengths for you guys yourselves, and you know, line and everything, and just see how it works. You know, because some of the things that I do work for me, they may not work for you. So just experiment and see what happens. The other thing that I like, the 50-pound braided line or 40-pound braided line over the 65, is that it's got a smaller diameter. What that's going to do is it's going to help. You're going to cast a lot easier. It's going to go a lot further. It's going to be a little bit. You're going to be able to cast with less effort and be able to make those pitches a little bit more accurately. That's another upside to having a smaller diameter braid, and that works out really well too. Because then, if you, especially for jig fishing, you really want to chuck that thing far, you can do it. You know, a little bit further than 65-pound braided line. So that's my setup. This is my setup. This is how I rig up my flipping pitching rod, my rig, my hook, line, sinker, and that's what gets me a lot of bites. And that is the setup that works for me, that I can, you know, consistently bring fish into the boat. And I've been doing that setup now for about 4 or 5 years. I'm not going to change it because it's been working so well. So try it out, check it out. If it doesn't work for you, experiment with different things, line, hook. You know, maybe try out the typical method with the, you know, the typical, you know, flip and pitch and hook too. Try that out first. See if that works for you. You know, as like a starting point. If it doesn't, you know, or try it out and see how many hook sets you miss, or see how many you land, or bites you get. You set the hook and then it come off, and then try one of the other methods, the EWG hook, or you know, the hammer hook here. That's, you know, kind of in between. It's kind of in between. It's like a worm hook, and between an EWG and a worm hook. That's what works for me. Just try it out for yourself and see how it goes, and you know, see if you know better your flipping pitching techniques. And if there's something that I missed, or if you guys know of any other tips that probably help my setup a little bit better, because I'm no expert and I'm always willing to learn some new stuff too. So if you guys have any other tips and stuff for that, throw them down in the comments, and maybe it'll help me out, maybe it won't. But if not, it might help someone else out too that's watching this video as well. So that's my setup. Again, guys, you know, we're gonna try and get out on the water again here soon. It'll probably be, you know, hard water, right? Ice fishing. And maybe what I'll do is I'll do like a little intro of the gear that I'm gonna be using. Not an intro, maybe a little review of the gear that I'll be bringing out onto the ice. For different things, because I'm going to do some ice camping. I'm going to try to bring you guys along for that. But for now, we're going to do my rod setups, we're going to do some unboxings, and go from there. So appreciate you guys for watching this video. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel, and we'll catch you in the next one.